Good morning. It is a joy to be with you today at our virtual Birmingham Unitarian Church service, where we welcome people of all races, ages, abilities, all people of goodwill. I am Donna Larkin Moore, your worship associate this morning, assisting our minister, the Reverend Mandy Beal, and all the other wonderful participants in our service. One was not mentioned on the slide, and that is Sarah Phillips, who is signing for us this morning. We are a welcoming congregation, a designation given to us by the Unitarian Universalist Association back in 1996, which means we are dedicated to doing the work of being fully inclusive of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer individuals and families. We have another UUA designation as a green sanctuary, which is reflected in our work on water, on legislation, and the climate crisis. We live out our faith through commitment to justice matters, including confronting racism in ourselves and in the world. We celebrate our theological differences and encourage people of a variety of beliefs and philosophies to participate fully in the life of our congregation. Worship is hosted on Zoom and later posted on Facebook. A quick reminder, you are on mute, and we ask that you stay muted to prevent distractions during the service. Thank you. A few announcements. This evening at 7 p.m., join the Humanists of BUC as they welcome BUC member, psychotherapist, and author Harper West as their featured speaker. Harper's talk is titled An Interpretation of Donald Trump, based on humanistic psychology and Mary Trump's book, Too Much and Never Enough. Zoom information is on our website. Next, the Confronting Racism session, the next one that is, will take place this Tuesday, September 15 at 7 p.m. The main discussion topic will be the history of white supremacy in the United States. More details, including readings for the session, are in your weekly email, and the Zoom information is on our website. There are dozens of ways you can get involved in the 2020 election, and lots of sites with information on how to vote. The new Beyond Voting resource page collects some of this material all in one place for your convenience. Find information on how to vote absentee, how to get involved in the elections beyond voting, and more. Check out this new page via the button on the BUC homepage under Resources. And our last announcement, 8th grades orientation, 1 p.m. today. Zoom information is on our website. We need you to register your kids. For additional information about the opportunities for involvement here, you can check our website at bucmi.org. And now our service will begin.
This morning's prelude on classical guitar is by Paraguayan composer Agustin Barrios, and it's called Julia Florida.
We worship from our separate homes this morning, but we are joined by a multitude of Unitarian Universalists around the world as we light our chalice. Our chalice is lit to honor the worship year that has passed. Through the trials and tribulations that we faced, we grew stronger. Our chalice is lit to welcome the worship year that is just beginning. May it be filled with love, hope, and joy.
Please join in singing hymn number 1 this morning. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul.
Water by Philip Larkin. If I were called in to construct a religion, I should make use of water. Going to church would entail a fording to dry different clothes. My liturgy would employ images of sousing, a furious, devout drench. And I should raise a glass in the east, a glass of water where any angled light would endlessly congregate. This unrhymed poem from Larkin's 1964 volume, The Whitsun Weddings, sees the poet declaring that water would make a fitting subject for a religion. After all, we rely on water and our lives revolve around it as we drink it and wash and wash and wash and wash our hands and bathe in it. His reference to any angled light suggests that water unites us all in this respect. Many religions, of course, make use of water, especially the various sects of Christianity, which include baptism as a holy ritual or sacrament. Whether it's the baby's head being wetted by water from the font or complete immersion into the water, many Christians have been baptized, and water has symbolized the purification of that person's soul in preparation for a life of religious devotion. But Larkin's hypothetical religion would place water even more at the center of things. People going to his church would regularly come into contact with water, fording, wading towards special dry clothes, which they would change into following their weekly baptism or dunking. The religious sermon and holy text, the liturgy, would feature watery imagery, and the most powerful symbol of all, perhaps, would be the humble glass of water, which would be raised in the east, symbolizing new births and beginnings. Attribution for this goes to my subscription to online poetry. Some Sunday, I would like to visit that water church.
So today is Water Communion Sunday. Water Communion for Unitarian Universalist is a symbol of our interconnectedness. One of the ways that we express that interconnectedness of our congregation is the sharing of financial support. The offering is not an obligation so much as it is an opportunity to share gratitude for each other and for the works of our church. Giving online is probably less satisfying than passing the plate. The sense of participating in the spiritual practice of generosity is somewhat lost when we are engaging that practice as individuals rather than as a community. I often make an appeal for the practical financial concerns of our church, but this week, I invite you to consider the spiritual aspects of the weekly offering. As you make your contribution, bring to your mind the people that you might encounter in our sanctuary. Your financial support is just as much an expression of your connection to those people as it is a means to a financial end. Your contributions can be sent through our website, through Venmo, username at BUCMI, or by sending a check in the mail. In that spirit, let there be an offering of support for this beloved community.
This morning's offering song is thought of to be an old Appalachian folk song or a hymn or even a spiritual, originating well before 1867. Down to the River to Pray is a song that a lot of you know. Feel free and join in and sing as we perform for you Steve's version of Down to the River to Pray. As I went down to the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. As I went down to the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, children, let's go down, come on down. Oh, children, let's go down to the river to pray. As I went down to the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, pilgrims, let's go down, come on down. Oh, pilgrims, let's go down to the river to pray. As I went down to the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, people, let's go down, come on down. Oh, people, let's go down to the river to pray. Let's go down to the river to pray.
As we continue in the time of our worship service that we have set aside for spiritual practices, we move now into a sharing of the joys and sorrows of our community. We start off with a note of joy submitted by Beth Brunton. Beth would like for us to know that awesome teacher, mother, sister, partner, Nancy Schmidt is celebrating a birthday this week coming up on September 17th. We also have a few notes of concern this morning, very serious ones. Annis Pratt wants us to know, My daughter Faith is in the hospital after an apparently benign brain tumor was removed on Tuesday. Annis continues, we have been terrified by her sudden illness beginning with seizures, but things look better now, and she is very cognizant. Annis asks that you keep the family in your thoughts and prayers. We also have 2 notes of sorrow from Nancy Schmidt. Nancy starts with, our dear friend Laurel Hinninger has just been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. Please hold her in your thoughts and prayers as she navigates chemotherapy and surgery, if those things are possible. And last, Nancy also tells us, our friend Carol Johnson lost her 91-year-old mom on Saturday. Because her mom died in a nursing home in Midland, she was not surrounded by her family when she passed. COVID-19 has been such a tragedy for many, ends Nancy. I invite you now to move with me further into a spirit of prayer and reflection. We come together as a community this morning, sharing in the joys and sorrows of each other's lives. Our hearts are heavy with the sorrows that have been expressed here this morning. Our hearts are heavy also with the acknowledgement of the fires that burn on our West Coast. This morning, we are here to celebrate the gift of water and the interconnectedness that it symbolizes amongst us. We are ever aware of the presence of fire at this time. We ask for grace and mercy for the people who are struggling with those fires and the people who are impacted by them, as well as continuing creativity and ways to address these problems. As we gather this morning, we also have a heart of joy for our community. We are grateful for what it is to be together, even with that being together not always perfect. We are grateful to be here one way or another. May these things be so. Amen, and blessed be.
We're all together in spirit, though it's not in the same space. In community, we each have our joys and sorrows, and we will be held in love and comforted when we share them with one another. Comfort me, O my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Speak for me. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul.
Good morning. My name is Nico Van Ostrand. I use they, them pronouns, and I am BUC's Religious Education Coordinator. I'm joining the BUC team with 8 years of experience as a Unitarian Universalist religious educational professional and a BA in Social Justice and Women's Studies. I'm joining you this morning from St. Paul, Minnesota, and I would like to share a story. This is a story for kids, in the sense that kids tend to treat stories of all kinds with reverence, an inherent sacred reading practice often lost to adulthood. But it is a story for all ages in a way that challenges us to receive it as a text that is every bit as meaningful as the readings and homily. This morning's story is adapted from The Water Bearer's Garden by Betsy Hill Williams. A water bearer had 2 large pots, each hung on on one end of a pole that he carried across his neck. One of the pots had a crack in it. At the end of the long walk from the stream to the house, the cracked pot arrived only half full, while the other pot was perfect and always delivered a full portion of water. For 2 years, this went on daily, with the bearer delivering only 1.5 pots full of water to the house. Of course, the perfect pot was proud of its accomplishments, perfect to the end for which it was made. But the poor cracked pot was ashamed of its own imperfection, and miserable that it was able to accomplish only half of what it had been made to do. After 2 years of what it perceived to be bitter failure, it spoke to the water bearer one day by the stream. "I am ashamed of myself, and I want to apologize to you." "Why?" asked the bearer. "What are you ashamed of?" "I have been able for these past 2 years to deliver only half my load because this crack in my side causes water to leak out all the way back. Because of my flaws, you have to do all this work and you don't get full value from your efforts," the pot said. The water bearer felt sorry for the cracked pot, and in his compassion, he said, "As we return to the house, I want you to notice the beautiful flowers along the path." Indeed, as they went back up the hill, the old cracked pot took notice of the sun warming the beautiful wildflowers on the side of the path, and this cheered it some. But at the end of the trail, it still felt sad because it had leaked out half of its load, and so again, the pot apologized to the bearer for its failure. The bearer said to the pot, "Did you notice that there were flowers only on your side of the path, but not on the other pot's side? That's because I have always known about your flaw, and I took advantage of it. I planted flower seeds on your side of the path, and every day while we walk back from the stream, you've watered them. For 2 years, I have been able to pick beautiful flowers to decorate the table. Without being just the way that you are, I would not have this beauty to grace the house." We all have our own unique flaws, our own unique gifts and strengths. We are all cracked pots. Don't be afraid of your flaws. Acknowledge the things that make you unique, and you too can be the cause of beauty. Know that in our weaknesses, we find our strength. Take a moment with me now to think of the things about you that may seem like a problematic crack in the watering jug. What is it about you that may not seem at first like a blessing? What is it about you that allows the flowers to grow? Thank you.
The Sunday after Labor Day has special importance for many Unitarian Universalist congregations, including ours. This is the official start of the worship year, which concludes the second week of June. Like the natural world, our worship services move in seasons and cycles. But this year wasn't exactly that way. This year finds us in an unusual season, and it did not give our worship services an obvious summer break. And yet, we find ourselves at a new beginning. We have peeled off the last page of the 2019-2020 worship calendar, and we begin the start of a new worship year full of opportunity. Before us lies the promise of new monthly worship themes, new ideas for our worship life. We also call forward the comfort and security of our past to steady us in a time of uncertainty and rapid change. Our beloved community has come through uncertainty and change before, and we will do so again.
The first water communion was held in 1980 when 2 Unitarian Universalist women, Carolyn McDade and Lucille Shuck Longview, were asked to create a worship service for the Women and Religion Continental Convocation of Unitarian Universalists. The convocation was held in our state capital, Lansing. The ritual they developed uses water as a symbol of our interconnectedness. It is in this spirit that our congregation celebrates water communion each year. Birmingham Unitarian Church is a promise that has been built over decades and entrusted to our care. We are stewards of this community and our traditions. As rivers gather to form the ocean, we gather to form BUC. We come from different backgrounds and identities. We have different gifts and ideas. These differences are our strength. Each of us has something to offer to the life of our beloved community. In our individual diversity, we are one community.
As Unitarian Universalists, we value the interconnected web of life. We are connected in ways that are mysterious yet simple, profound, but also ordinary. In this church, we do not share a common belief. Instead, we share a mutual concern for one another. The value of human relationships is the core of our faith tradition. Our religious life is built on covenants that call us to healthy and accountable relationships. These relationships embolden and support our search for truth and meaning. We don't always know where that faith exploration will lead us, but we know that we will find shelter in this beloved community. As we navigate the waters of our individual faith journeys, we find rest and renewal in each other.
Our church is a place of comfort and a catalyst for change. We are comforted by shared traditions and familiar worship expressions. We gather on Sunday mornings to share stories and songs that remind us of our church's history and the congregational life that we have built. At the same time, our Unitarian Universalist faith challenges us to remain open and curious. We should never be satisfied that we have found the one right answer to life's biggest questions.
In worship services, we encountered that which is beyond our individual lives, yet deeply a part of who we are. Some of us call this God, some call it the spirit of life, others the power of human community. Our church is not a place of answers, but a place of bold, bold questions. Our worship life is a container for these questions, both supporting and moving us forward.
When we celebrate water communion in our sanctuary, participants bring small containers of water forward and combine them into one vessel. This year, we've submitted images of signs that express something about our individual lives. We are grateful to Curtis Atuna for creating a visual representation of how our individual lives come together to form our beloved community. Thank you to everyone who submitted entries for our virtual water communion. A visual representation of who we are is very moving. All of the different things that we bring to this community, all of the different ways that we feel. Water communion is one of the better metaphors for Unitarian Universalist congregations because it represents how our individual identities and our feelings create one congregation. In the images of our virtual water communion, we saw these differences. Our church is a holy and special gathering of individual lives, and yet we are one. Many water droplets, many rivers, one ocean. When I was a kid, I loved watching rain on the car window. Not the windshield, but the back seat window where the water was swept by the momentum of the car. I was fascinated by the way that the raindrops would form little rivers as they moved down. Sometimes those rivers would join, sometimes they ran next to each other, sometimes they would join in one place and then separate again. They would snake left or right. And occasionally, if the rain was driving hard enough, or if my parents were driving fast enough, the little rivers would even flow up for a moment. But eventually, no matter how they moved, the forces of gravity and cohesion would bring them together and in the same direction. No matter how they got there, the waterways eventually, always, came to the same place. Our church is like that. Each one of us moves in our own way. Sometimes our spiritual and ideological paths meet. Sometimes they don't. At BUC, there are many theologies and people who are not really sure what a theology is. We span generations, social identities, and backgrounds. We don't always agree or understand each other, but we are one church. We are all moving in the same direction, compelled towards the same end, a life with meaning and a world made whole. We gather as one church to witness the beauty and the mystery of life. Through our relationships, we find parts of ourselves that we had not known before. We bear witness to each other's joys and our sorrows. We help each other dig deeper into our individual beliefs and spiritualities. This mutual vulnerability, this being known and knowing each other, is a sacred thing. We undertake these tasks seriously. And of course, water doesn't always flow as easily as rivers into an ocean or even raindrops rolling down a car window. Sometimes the flow is stubborn and chaotic and where we least expect it. In this morning's story, we learned about a leaky water pot. Now, the job of a water pot is to hold water. And because of the leak, the pot felt that it was useless. But the boy who carried that cracked pot saw those cracks as an opportunity. He used that leak to make a trail of beautiful flowers. If the pot did not leak, there would not have been any flowers. If the boy had thrown that pot away, there wouldn't be any flowers. The pot was embarrassed and it wanted to give up, but if it had, there would not be any flowers. Admittedly, I don't know how a pot gives up, but the point still stands. Or should I say, the idea holds water? Now, the boy always knew that that pot had a leak, and yet he valued that pot. He could have patched it up. He could have found a different pot, or he could have just ignored that leak, but he didn't. Instead, he understood the pot had a leak, and he thought of that leak as a gift. He used that leak to coax forth something beautiful. All of us have places where we are cracked. Having those cracks does not mean that we are useless. It's just another part of who we are. Like the pot from the story, our leaks are what makes us special. Each of us is a gift to this congregation and to each other's lives, just as we are. Our church is not a place that throws out leaky pots. If we did, there would not be any pots left. We are not a factory that produces perfect pots. There is no such thing. And to pretend that there is would be off-brand for us. Our church is not a leak patching facility. You get to keep your leaks here. In fact, you may even find some leaks that you didn't know you had. We are not a place that ignores leaks. We are a place where leaks are fitted for greater usefulness. We plant flowers for each other, and we watch as they bloom. Your leaks are welcome here, not because we are content with having leaks, but because we know that leaks are inevitable. They are opportunities for deeper understanding. If we are to accomplish anything of spiritual value, we must know ourselves and each other, cracks and all. We can only know what we need from church and what we can offer here if we are honest about who we are. Church that is not grounded in honesty is pointless at best and dangerous at worst. And so we gather. We gather in a year that has worn us down, and yet we are full of hope. We gather in the mystery of the one that is made from the many. We gather full of trepidation and doubt and fear and excitement and joy and hope and curiosity and everything that it is to be human. If we're not feeling it, someone else in this congregation is. And we share that exchange back and forth. And we do this again and again, each Sunday, each year, because we know the value of our church, and we know ourselves to be of value here. We don't know where this year and this river will take us, but we know that we are going somewhere, and we know that we are going there together. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
It's Homecoming Sunday, so let's join in our closing hymn, Blue Boat Home. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the light of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Reverend Mandy, you're muted.
Well, that's too bad because that was really beautiful. I guess we'll just have to try again. Thank you. We launch now into this worship year that is to come, knowing not where we go or where we will wind up. As we launch forth together, let us remember that this church is our blue boat home, and that ships have anchors that support us and ground us and keep us still together, but they also have sails that move us forward and compel us onward. May we be each other's anchors and each other's sails. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.